And hello YouTube, this is Thomas Judge back once again with another video, and this one's continuing the one I started from yesterday, which is about repairing my Gotham City Sirens Omnibus. So yesterday we talked through what the problem with the Omnibus was when I got it, and today we're going to talk through what I did next to kind of prep how I was going to design and make the dust jacket. Just to clarify, I do have a series of tutorials on this channel about how to design dust jackets and find images and do various bits and pieces. This isn't one of those videos. This is giving you a quick overview of what I did and why I did it. So with no further ado, let's have a look at this. This is the Gotham City Sirens Omnibus that I bought, and yesterday's video was sort of talking through this and the damage to the dust jacket and the various other bits and pieces. And so what I'm going to do now is talk through exactly what I do next, which really kind of goes into my relationship with my binder and the sort of information you need to provide to a binder to make sure you get the exact dust jacket you want. So first things first, you need to have a clear artistic vision of the sort of dust jacket you want and the sort of images or text or whatever that you want on your shelf. There's lots of different options for this. You can have spines with interlocking images. You can go for a minimalist kind of art style. You can go for a maximalist art style. It's really entirely up to you as to what you like and how you like it. I'm just going to talk through what I like and how I like it. So the first thing I do is I go online. I just basically do a Google image search for Gotham City Sirens. A good place to start is actually within the series itself. Now, in this case, I just Googled Harley Quinn, Gotham City Sirens. This is an image that came up. This is actually from the Arkham Knight video game, I believe, which I haven't played. But it looks really cool, and I was thinking maybe this is something I can use. I mean, I love the image anyway. I might get it made as a poster or something. I really like it. As I said before, not a huge Harley fan, but certain depictions I think are really awesome, and this I think is a great image. Another one that came up was this, which I believe is by Joe Benitez. It's an image of the three sirens. It's pretty cool. It's got all three of them very prominently. I like it, but I don't know, something about the art style didn't quite land with me. It's not, I think, suited to being a dust jacket. Also, one thing to keep in mind is the aspect ratio of the image that you have. So to have this as a dust jacket, I would have needed to crop it quite a lot on the left and right, or I would have needed to resize it using an image manipulation program like Photoshop or GIMP or something like that. And that would have really stretched out the characters and made them kind of ludicrous in their proportions. The next image I found was this. I don't know where this came from. I don't know who did this. I can't really read the artist signature there at the bottom. But I thought this was really cool. It's kind of like a teen Gotham City Sirens thing. Doesn't quite suit what I wanted for the dust jacket, but a really cool image nonetheless. This is a really cool image by Tyler Kirkham. And yeah, it's got Batman sort of right in the center and then the three sirens. Not a depiction of Harley that I'm really a massive fan of, but I do like the other two characters again. Didn't really work for what I wanted, partly for the aspect ratio reasons that I mentioned, plus the fact that Batman isn't really very prominent in the Gotham City Sirens series, but a cool image nonetheless. Now, this is actually from the cover of one of the issues of Gotham City Sirens. I can't remember which issue it is, but it is one of the covers. What I've done here is I've cleaned off the logo at the top, so it's just the image by itself, because I prefer quite clean, what they call virgin variants of covers that are lacking all the text. This I quite liked, and I was very tempted to have this as the front cover of my desk jacket. But again, pros and cons, you got to weigh it up and decide what you like yourself. This is issue 12 of Gotham City Sirens. Really cool cover. Love the artwork on this. Really nice logo as well. That logo was very, very kind of influential in terms of how I designed my dust jacket, because it's not like the logo on the original, which you'll see in the video I dropped yesterday, but it's kind of like the definitive logo for the series, even though it wasn't used in the dust jacket. But then there's that issue with the dust jacket that they've kind of renamed it into Harley Quinn and the Gotham City Sirens, which is inaccurate anyway. But a really cool image, very tempted to have used that. And then this. Now this is Stefan Schezwick artwork. So digitally painted, it's really cool, really like this image. I want you to use it, but at the same time, it's only Ivy and no one else, so I was kind of umming and ahhing. So without any further ado, let's get into what I actually chose for my images. I chose the one that we're looking at here, but I cropped it like this for reasons that become apparent soon, so I could use it in a particular way that you'll see in a second. The next image that I chose was this. I actually found this in a Google search. I have no idea who the artist for it is, so Props and shout out to whoever that is. I have shamelessly just lifted it because it looks great. It kind of hits the exact tone that I wanted for my dust jacket, which is this kind of Lasonic, slightly vampy art style, penciling style. The colouring is just on point with this kind of painted kind of style there. It also is evocative of Gotham Central and other things that I think thematically have kind of a feel or a tonal similarity to Gotham City Sirens. So I basically really liked it, and this is what I decided to use as the cover of my dust jacket. No text on it other than the cards that they're holding up, and I just thought it looked cool, it looked quirky. I don't know where it's from, but I liked it. The next image that I found that I really liked was this. So this is just the logo. In fact, I think I actually just made this using GIMP. I think I just cleaned this up from a an issue of the actual series that I picked up from Comixology or something like that. I think that's where I got the logo from. Then I also got this. Now this is the DC Peel logo, and the Peel logo is my favorite DC logo. There have been various eras of them, iterations of them over time in the various DC publishing eras. The DC Peel logo is the one that's kind of synonymous with the New 52, but this version of it, where it kind of pulls back and shows you a window into the Joker, and this is specifically some artwork of the Joker from the Batman Arkham game series. I just thought, mwah, perfect, like just really kind of just hits the notes I wanted to hit on the Gotham City Siren logo. I know this seems like a lot of detail for something that's going to be relatively small than the dust jacket, but it's my dust jacket, so I can look at whatever bits I want. And then the next bit I looked at was this. Now this again I think is Stefan Schezwick artwork. Harley holding hands with Ivy. It's just nice. It kind of hits all my buttons. It's sort of well proportioned, kind of realistic, kind of evocative and emotive. Also just very minimalist. There's no text. There's nothing like that. It's a really nice kind of intimate moment between these two characters. So yeah, really like that. Wanted to use that image. And then finally this, and again, this is from Stefan Schezwick's Harleen comic, highly recommended. It has got Ivy in it. It has got Harleen, obviously, in the cover there. In the center there on the chair. It hasn't got any Catwoman, but it has got some of the other villains and obviously Joker and so on as well. Maybe not perfect for Gotham City Sirens, but I'll tell you this, it was just something I wanted to include. It just looks great. I like it. And I think it works well in the way that I've used it. So without further ado, what I'm going to now show you next is once you've sourced your images and you found the exact images you want and you know where you want them and how you want your dust jacket to be laid out, you need to provide this information to your binder. Now, if you use some binders like Heroes Rebound or Houchin Bindery or things like that, sometimes they like send you a form and they're like, right, fill in the form, fill in the details saying exactly what you want to do and how you want to do it. And you just follow the process of that form, of that application for your custom bound or custom whatever comics. That's one way of doing it. If you have a bounder that's a specialist in doing comics. A lot of binders aren't, and so you simply have to treat them the way you treat any other kind of retail interaction, in that you would go into the binders, you'd speak to them, and you say, I want this, and I want it to look like X, Y, and Z. Now, there's lots of ways to try and have that conversation. Personally, I'm not very good with articulating my ideas or explaining things clearly. So what I tend to do, I tend to think quite visually and infographically. And if you're familiar with my channel, you'll know this from the various reading maps and various other things that I do. So what I like to do is just make a short document making explicitly clear what I want and how I want it to look. To wit, here. So start off the document that just says what to do. Replace Gotham City Sirens dust jacket and repair the binding. For this, I say what the steps are. Now, there's only 2 steps here. If I'm having a slipcase made or having a ribbon inserted, there'll be more steps. But this is just something that the binder can refer to as they're working on the job. So 1, dust jacket's a wreck, I need a new one. 2, binding's damaged, needs repair. Then what I do is I just do a quick overview of the language that I use to explain what is where on the dust jacket. So you have the rear flap, the rear of the dust jacket, the spine and the spine logo, the cover and the front flap. An easy design mistake to make when you're speaking to your binder is to have the front flap here on the left and the rear flap here on the right. It makes sense because in the West we read from left to right, and so that's kind of That's how you kind of think about it. You go, oh, this is the front, this is the back. But actually, if you think about this three-dimensionally in terms of how the dust jacket wraps around the hardcover, then actually the front flap is here and the cover is here, not the other way around. That is my pro tip to you. I have made that mistake in the past when I first started doing this sort of stuff. So yeah, just keep an eye on that. Then what I do, I'd make just a few notes. So, for example, all the pictures that I just showed you, I would save those files on the USB stick and I would label them really clearly. So I'd say like 1 dash rear flap, and that would be the name of that image, and so on and so forth, to make it absolutely explicitly clear. Like I said before in some of my other videos, the people that you're dealing with when you're speaking to binders for comics or for anything aren't necessarily into what you're into. So if you say something like, oh yeah, I really want to keep the Marvel logo, but I want to do this, or I really want to have the DC bit framed around Harley, Catwoman, they may not know who Harley, is, or Catwoman is. They might not even know who Iron Man is, or Spider-Man is. There are people out there who haven't seen Avengers Endgame. So you have to remember, everything you're saying has to be just absolutely explicitly clear. What might seem obvious to you or to me isn't going to seem obvious to someone who's not in the hobby. So you cannot be too clear. So as well as having the pictures on the USB stick labeled really clearly, and as well as having this kind of dummy's guide to how a dust jacket is structured, I also then maybe make a bit of a note on the font. So if, for example, I want a particular font, Impact, I think, is quite a popular one that people use on some things, then I just state it here. But if I want something else, what I do is I state that as well. All right, that takes us into the next page. So what I do here is this is the dust jacket exactly as it was shown before, but with the actual images in place to make it absolutely explicitly clear what I want and how I want it. So on the rear flap, I want this image. On the rear cover, I want this image. On the spine, I want that logo there in the middle. This is the text I want, so I've got the various creator surnames there. Now you can do what you want here. You can have one creator surname, you can have no creator surnames, you can have their full names. You can put them whatever order you want. You can literally put whatever you want here. Remember, this is your dust jacket. And then at the bottom here, I've got the DC Peel logo, and I've given an indication of the kind of proportionate size I want that on the dust jacket. That's another good reason to do this and to mess around with it in this kind of infographic way, because it gives you a license to kind of explain where you want things on the dust jacket relative to one another and their relative sizes to one another. Then we've got the front cover image here, and you'll see here I have reproportioned this, so this is the exact right size for a dust jacket. Again, that's another good reason to make this kind of notional guide for your binder, because what you might find is that an image that you really, really liked, when you actually sort of distend it or distort it so it fits the exact proportions of a dust jacket and the measurements for the size of your comic, it might actually be stretched or squished or just look a bit wrong. It might need cropping, or you might need to pick a different image. So it's really good to make it like this so you can think for yourself what it looks like. And then finally on the front flap, I've given an indication I want to have the logo here, and then I want some text here. I've just literally written filler text to go here. I want that image that I mentioned earlier, which I've cropped. I want that image here, and then I want some more filler text here. We'll speak about filler text in a moment. But before I do, I will also point out that if you have a color printer, I would highly recommend printing this out. Even if you print it out as an A4 page, I would still recommend printing it out, print it in color, and then cut literally around this one big rectangle of pictures, and then fold it along these white gaps in between each image, so you make a little baby demonstrative dust jacket. It's kind of an ongoing joke with me and my binder that I will give him these little small colored printouts of this, and they're all folded and they're all sort of wrapped around, and I'll be like, right, can you make this only bigger? It's useful, it's indicative. It really gives them a good idea that you've got the images exactly where you want. You haven't mixed up your cover and your rear image or your front flap and your rear flaps, and it really gives them a good idea of what they're aiming for. I don't do it at the moment because I don't have access to a color printer in my house, and like a lot of people, I'm working from home due to the world being the way it is. But if you do have access to a color printer, or if you can do something like that, I would strongly recommend actually taking in a mock-up to your binder. It's a really simple, obvious, clear way of explaining that when you're discussing this process with them. So that's the second page. And then the third page of what I send them is this, which is basically just the text. So I normally send this as a Word document or WordPad or something, and I just basically say where the text goes, which is the front French flap, which is here. and then explain what the text is. So this is what the text, this is what it's going to be. Then you have that picture of Poison Ivy, and then you have the text at the bottom there as well. Yeah, that's what I'd recommend doing. In terms of where you get the text from, I know I've talked about this in some of my previous videos about where to come up with the blurbs from. You can come up with them from the back of the trade paperbacks or the hardcover collections. You can randomly pick quotes from places if you like, and go on websites like IGN or things like that to just read reviews of it. Or you can just write one yourself, or you can even copy paste from Comixology. Lots of different options of how you would do that. Okay, so this is it, guys. This is what I print out, and this is what I give to my binder. If you do make a relationship with a binder who's not an expert in printing comics, I'd strongly recommend making some kind of like guide like this, rather than just giving them your comics and hoping that they have some idea of what they're doing and some kind of aesthetic sense to do it well. So I'd really recommend doing this. This is what I did. I gave the damaged Omnibus and dustjacket to my binder with this guide, and this is literally exactly what I gave him, with a USB stick with the images on. And what we'll see tomorrow is I will show you how that turned out. Thanks for watching, everyone. As always, please like, comment, subscribe. As always, please feel free to follow me on Twitter at I am Thomas Judge. And as always, if you want to support the channel, head over to nogodsorkings.com to read a free excerpt of my prose novel about superheroes. You can pick it up for free if you're on Kindle Unlimited, or you can buy it for less than $1, and it's the best way to support the channel. Thanks, everyone, and until next time, stay classy.